here. Our friend Mistah Mahvel is having technical difficulties. He uses an app, and apparently some of our friends in Comicsgate who are having a high court hangout, this app ended up. He uses an app, and apparently
okay, I hear my own voice echoing. All right, there we go.
So I'm going to keep an eye on Twitter just in case we can make magic happen and Mistah Mahvel can join us. But the backup plan, the show must go on, is I'm going to live draw Wanpool today. And I think I finally figured out a decent setup rather than having my laptop on my printer pointed down. I've got the world's best book stand, my best birthday present ever. Hashtag not a sponsor, but man, if they ever want me to sponsor for them, that's not even going to be hard. So what I'm hoping to do is get a little reference images of Wanpool, and we will be off to the races. And backup laptop is down, We're flying in blind. There we go. There's always a way. So let's chat about our friend Mr. Mahvel's project. Now, what am I going to do if that doesn't work? If he does get it to it, well, I think he said the app didn't work. So I think we're just going to fly under the assumption that I'm going to be drawing tonight, and we're going to reschedule a chat for a future time. Mr. Mahvel at MistahMahvel, Mahvel, sort of like you're from Boston. Wanpool was originally created for a Captain Cummings meme session, and Mr. Mahvel actually wasn't able to complete it in time for the deadline for Captain Cummings meme contest, but he dug the idea. It's the very first deviation on his DeviantArt account where he goes by the same name. And he has been developing that into a comic project. There have been some little leaks of comic pages, and there's also been some promotional art featuring Wanpool teaming up with Regina, who is the main character from Rags, which is another cool indie book featuring zombies and girls running around in unicorn outfits. So in addition to showing some promotional art, Mr. Mahvel's talked about a little bit about his friendship with Rags, the process of them working together. So there are some sick independent comics coming out very soon. And if you have not checked out Mr. Mahvel's style yet, please do on Twitter, on DeviantArt. What would I describe it as? A very clean, very professional, slick looking style. Very, very funny guys. Wanpool is hilarious. Very sexy girls. And part of the prompt for me wanting to have a Google Hangout conversation today was I was talking with Larry King Undead, and Wanpool just came up, and the first words out of my mouth was Wanpool is brilliant, without even thinking about it. And it's just one of those inspired ideas that doesn't come along that often. He looks so fun. He looks like he'd be fun to draw. It's such a great character. I almost don't need reference images for it on this crummy phone. So I've just taken a quick peek. We're gonna roll. I've said before that sometimes it can be fun to draw. Woo, don't fall over in my own chair. And then I stab my toe. Only on the #1 Marmaduke fan show. Only here. So let's see if I can bring up the live stream and keep an eye on the chat in case we get any comedic gold. Okay, there's the live stream. Can I see the chat? Hello, chat. Mr. Mahvel is here. Okay, people are chatting. There was me saying testing. All right, so we're looking forward. I want first dibs on interviewing this artist, and because I have a sneaking feeling that the idea of Wanpool is destined for greatness, and this is a committed artist with lots of more projects coming down the road. So we'll get chances to chat about that. So taking a little inspiration from Unranked Chevron's setup of putting his tripod in front of him. Let's see if I can see. Okay, there's a little bit of a delay, so I get an idea of how much delay there is between me in my impromptu workstation and you guys out in internet land. Okie dokie. Oh, Matt Wenger says maybe Marm can set up a private server and stream his screen. Okay. Well, I'll keep at me if you want to get my attention, gang. And I'm just gonna start going into drawing mode here. Okay, so our boy Wanpool, nice round face and a nice round body. Now I don't just want like a soy. That's one of the funny things is Mr. Marvel's been drawing a lot of kind of soy sona art, which I think needs to become a meme. Your soy sona, but I don't want to just purely go for a doofy style. I want to get a feel for the humor and the energy of this character because he's not just. I mean, he part of the charm of Wanpool is it's this big fat guy in sort of a Gwenpool superhero outfit who's a mercenary and a live streamer. But he also looks like he could kick a lot of butt and go on crazy adventures. And some of the crossover art with him and Rags looks completely sick. Like they've got guns at pointing at each other, or they're taking selfies. So I want to kind of now Wanpool to my eye does look like the kind of guy who skips leg day. So dinkier legs to add some comedy to it, but an imposing presence. And I think we're just going to go right into it without reference images. I'm scared because I don't have reference images, but if Wanpool is brave enough to go out in that outfit, we can do this, gang. Jonah Art says, I need an adult. Yeah. Wanpool looks like a friendly guy, but your first impression might be that you need an adult when you see him. That mustache, he needs a big, friendly smile. He's excited to be here. Mr. Marvel's also drawn Wanpool with a little bit of a Peter Griffin style influence, but I'm going to go maybe a little, I'm going to have a little bit of that Peter Griffin influence in the chin, but I want to capture those big jowls of his. I mean, it's not just that he's fat, it's that he has a interesting facial structure and body type. You know, that's the sign of someone who knows what they're doing, is they don't just rely on a few, you know, goofy tropes like big fat guys, just a big circle. There's a skeleton and there's muscle in the way that Mr. Marvel draws his characters. And then kind of the Pool characters, Gwenpool and Deadpool, sort of have that little flop on the top. Even though this is a more rotund fellow, we still want to get our clavicle and rib cage. We don't want to forget that. And because this is still a masculine character, we want that nice, broad, obtuse angle rib cage. Remember where our hips go. The skeleton doesn't get fat. The fat hangs off of the skeleton at key points. Okie dokie. There's some light pencils. Let's go in with, oh, what even is this pencil? I've used it so much I can't even tell. Number 497. Indie Dave Comics mentions that our friend Ethan Van Sciver, Uncle Ethan, has about 8 iPads. And sometimes I'm a little nervous about, because at this point, I've got one good laptop. The old school laptop is pretty much toast. I can sometimes function to maybe play a little music on YouTube, but that was that old laptop was actually the basis of my whole channel last year, and then I finally got a new one. I desperately needed it, and that was right around the time when I wanted to kind of transition to doing slightly more professional podcast formats. But if this thing ever gets broken or stolen, this channel might be toast for a while until I can get it back up and running. I'm trying to remember Gwenpool's costume, because the one thing about her is that she doesn't wear pants. She spent her whole pant budget, and Wanpool's gut drapes over the Gwenpool panties a little bit, and he's a very hairy man. I think that's part of the fun. I think I saw Rags talking recently that he's almost sold out on issue 1 of Rags, and I think, am I right that issue 2 is coming out soon for Rag Zombie? Anyone chat kept up with that? I like checking out these comics, but sometimes I'm not the best on keeping on the ball on release dates. So uh, I'm being lazy and hoping you guys in chat can help me know what I'm talking about. But when now that I know that this crossover is coming, I'm going to make sure I get right on the ball on checking out issue 2 of Rags, so that I can kind of keep up with that character and get a feel for both characters who are going to be in the crossover together. So obviously, Wanpool needs some man breasts. He's got a lot of extra tissue there, so these are going to drape down slightly. Now, I don't think I have ever drawn in my life a character with man breasts. So this is a defining new experience for me. I'm no longer a man breast virgin. No, I take it back. I think I did a few academic studies of more portly body types, but I never just like picked up my pencil and just started drawing a portly character. Look at that, Mr. Marvel bringing some body positivity into the world of comics. Uh, fat people are people too. What? And he's got a soy profile pic inspired by the Steven Universe style. What a advocate of social justice we have in the comics geek community. Now you can tell I'm not using reference images because I'm just guessing on Gwenpool's costume at this point. So this is going to be a alternate reality Marmaduke-ish Earth 61661 universe Wanpool. Why is the picture quality terrible? Oh man, you know what I probably did? Avid comic reader. I bet I might have turned down the quality because I was scared that I was going to have feedback issues, and that's got to be what it is. I thought I put it on like 720 pixels, but now that I'm looking at my phone, yeah, you can't see that much. Oh boy, least professional. All right, I'm going to power through. I'm going to power through and draw our boy Wanpool, and then I'm going to figure out the issues on my end, and we will look forward to a chance to interview this great artist. All right, let's just go right into it. I've niggled with the pencils enough. Now, Deadpool has kind of those big Spider-Man-y eyes, and Gwenpool seem to be a little bit smaller and almost have maybe this glass to them, a bit more three-dimensionality. I'm going to give my Wanpool a little bit more of a fuzzy mustache, maybe a little less well kempt. So I had to learn, Google Hangouts and stuff for the first time very recently. It was never like something I would do with my family. It was more just something I saw a lot of people in YouTube doing. And I think my very, very first one was Your Nerd Wonder invited me on with several artists. And I came in like pretty late. I kept like not knowing what the heck I was supposed to do or which browser I was supposed to use. And then once I figured out that like Google pretty much seems to make you use Google Chrome to make it work is my impression. Then I finally got in like at the tail end and got to say hi. And then my first live stream chat was with Matt Wenger, who is working on his own webcomic. And in addition to the webcomic, I think he's working on a completely separate project that he's thinking about kickstarting pretty soon. Avid comic reader, love you, Duke. Looking forward to it. Also, got to censor yourself on Nigglesblove. Sound it out slowly. Lull. Oh gosh, I just say a bad word and I didn't even know what it is. I am like your stereotypical Baptist kid, guys. Aldrake.com, says our boy Matt Wenger. He is here. Go to aldrake.com. And the other project he's working on kind of has a D&D influence to the characters. Hey, someone's roasting me for doing the shout out. Hey, Eliza Barr, I will shout out to artists in our community. I reserve that right. How do you draw Gwenpool? Oh my gosh. All right. This is alternate universe inspired. So I'm going to say there's like a stripe coming right down the middle. This is going to be horribly off model, but here we go. We are committing to the bit. This is his alternate costume when his regular costume's in the wash. Now, even on a fat guy, we still need some strong muscle definition because he's still a hero. He's still going out and kicking tail. He probably eats himself a real high protein diet. He's probably got tons of muscle underneath that layer of chub. And I'm just going to give him maybe sort of the traditional superhero gloves. Up and around, a tiny bit of texture there. Relaxed posture for his fingers. Add a little bit more texture to his glove. Okay, when in doubt, black it out. I'm using a Papermate Flare pen, which is a really cheap pen. I can't use it for professional projects, but for just going out and about for drawing and doodling in your sketchbook, man, this is a great inexpensive option. You can, because it's got a felt tip, you can get a little bit of variety in your pressure and a little bit of line width with it. So this is just my go-to option to just go out and doodle during the day and maybe sketch a few scenes in nature to practice perspective and drawing nature. Okay, we need a little shadow underneath the man boob. And my favorite thing is trying to draw both the clothing and then the belly protruding from the clothing. So this is the belly coming down, hanging over here. It curls up into a shirt. Oh man, what a great character. This is so exciting. I'm going to fix that belly a bit. I think there's going to be a little bit of shadow under here. And then, yeah, Gwenpool doesn't have pants. So these are just bare, but well-muscled man legs. Yeah, they're comedically skinny, but I still want them to have a little definition. So it's not like soy boy skinny. I'm going to say, just like simple cartoony boots. Some good heels on them. Add a little definition to those knees. So Matt Wenger was my very first Google Hangout live stream for this channel, and we talked about his comic. We talked about other things than just his comic. We talked about the community and the need for creative people in our community, just the need to make things and check out each other. You put eyeballs on each other pretty much. Know when your friends in the community are doing something interesting. And then my second conversation was with our boy DC Fans United. He hosted a conversation with Larry King Undead, and it was an interesting conversation. There was a little pushback. It's not like everybody agrees on everything, and that was good. So we're going to do an off-model Juan pool today. And then for future reference, I just love looking at Juan pool so much that we need more Juan pool in the world. So this is going to be the first of more Juan Pool-y inspired things. It might be fun for me to do a similar thing like I did to Thundercats, where I sort of imagined, what if I was asked to redesign the Thundercats but make them cute and kid friendly, but I didn't want them to look weird and off-putting and soy boyish. So I did my version of the Thundercats in kind of a friendly cartoon style. Maybe we could do sort of like a friendly G-rated Juan Pool for his TVY cartoon incarnation from the late 80s or early 90s. That might be a lot of fun. Get some shadow on that arm. All right, so I got the basic skeleton, and now I just have to guess about some of the details. Who's here in the chat? Oh, Mr. Marvel? Oh, are you guys? Okay, if you aren't adding me, I'm going to assume that you're just chatting among yourselves about options to, because people are talking about Discord. I have signed up for Discord, but that's another thing I'm not really hip with yet. I'll probably just need to like get in there, figure out where everybody's at, and so do people use that for live streaming stuff? I'm showing my technological idiocy here, because if we have more options than just Google Hangouts, I'm not opposed to trying other ways of hosting conversations with artists in the community. Alrighty, dighty. So we're guessing at the details of Gwenpool's pink and white uniform. So I think I'm going to have I'm going to have my Juan Pool have sort of a collar, but then the collar comes down to his tummy. And I know that it almost reads as like tidy whitey underwear, which is part of the humor of it, I think. But it's sort of like the stripe would go straight down there. And then we're going to have maybe a second stripe here, but it has to follow the shape of his body. Coolio. All right, so we've got the basic outline. Now I want to get in some shadow, and I cheated a bit on places where I got a bit confused. I just laid down a quick black shadow. Now I want to think about the light source. So if the light source is coming straight down here, that means we're going to have this side of his face in shadow. And for a shading style, I think I'm going to go with, I call it like the Jeff Smith style, where he will just black out solid areas of black, but then he'll have maybe a few itty bitty details in some critical places. This is not the best shading pen. One of my drawing instructors, as a way, I think I've told this story on the channel before, but I'll tell it again because it's kind of interesting. One of my drawing instructors would insist that to teach us patience, kind of like eating your peas with a knife. She would tell us that we had to shade everything with our Flair pen, and we couldn't cheat and get a Sharpie. And if you did cheat and get a Sharpie, it would bleed through, of course, and she would know instantly if you cheated. Then once you kind of got to the advanced coursework, you had a lot more freedom in how you used your tool. That is an interesting subject. I think the best art teachers, the ones who really can actually help you get art, because that's the question some people wonder is, how do you teach something like art? Don't you just need to do it? Is there any benefit to going to art school? And I will say that the teachers who knew what they were doing and were very passionate about art and not social justice, they did teach me things that I probably wouldn't have been able to pick up just on my own with experimenting. And one of the tricks that the best teachers had was using tools which were unusual to students, or maybe were a bit unexpected. So you might go in, you've drawn with pencil and pen, sure, but then they might, I think the best example I can think of is the Renaissance man made us use Vine charcoal, which is a very fiddly, very frustrating medium. but using that medium taught me how to think about form and light and shadow on the body, because you can't really draw lines with it. You have to hold it sideways all the time. Jonah Arts asks, yes, you can, but I don't know how to do so. I'll DM you on Twitter from my art account or a different one. Okay, so that was when I was asking about whether you could use Discord to host some of this stuff. So because his shirt is on top of his body, we're gonna have a little shadow underneath his shirt. Push that forward. All right, so this is gonna be my favorite part, because our boy Wampool, this is a very hairy man. Some hair. I'm gonna try to imagine his abs as we add all this wonderful hair. I'm just gonna go overboard and say he has hair all over his stomach. Disgusting belly hair everywhere. Maybe peter it out a little bit here, because you don't usually see hair. Even on a very hairy man, you don't see much hair around that area. And hairy legs, usually I notice it more along the front than on the back. So, yeah. This would be kind of an example of where I'm using very, very light pressure to try to get a soft, hairy look. And you can see how I'm kind of scumble, I think is what maybe the technical name for it is. I'm trying to get, twists and loops to get the feel of hair wrapping around and flaring out. Since our light source is from up here, we're going to have a nice shadow flowing along the shape of his thigh. Put a lot of his knee in that shadow, and then bring it down like there's a shadow along the bone. And then his boots, I want his boots to be kind of rough and scuffed up. Strong shadow underneath that fold. Look at that. He's kicked some faces in with those. You can't see that. I'll hold it up. Sam C says Dennis Cohen is a great artist. Ooh, I'll check that out. Lots of people are chatting Dennis Cohen. There's a wingtip at the front, maybe with some steel that's been worn through for kicking in heads. And then one will also have some 5 o'clock shadow. I gotta be really light with pressure here so I don't go too dark. I've left out all like the gun details since I'm guessing I didn't want to draw a gun badly. So maybe this is our boy Wanpool modeling his new simplified costume, and then he's going to add his guns and 90s pouches next. Even though this should technically be in shadow, I'm going to leave it white just so we have a little bit of visual separation between his, I don't know, Supergirl leotard and his nice hairy legs. So hairy legs, here we go. Make sure I get the shadow of that belly there. I want to add a little bit more scuff and shading to his gloves, since those would not only just be darker in value, but they have this nice texture and be kind of roughed up. I'm going to wrap a second shadow around here. It's wrapping around his arms to disappear behind him, because even though this is a 2D cartoony character, thinking about it in 3D still helps you figure out shadow placement. Wampool is a character that I wished I thought of. Yes, CMC. It's like Oh, if only I thought of the idea of, Harry Potter going to a school for witchcraft and wizardry, and then I would be a dizzying millionaire. Oh, am I bleeding? Am I bleeding? I don't think I am. I really hurt my toe earlier, but false alarm. I must have just felt something on my toe. Wouldn't be the #1 Marmaduke fan show if I wasn't at risk of injuring myself at some point due to some technical incompetence. Oh, this pen is running out of ink, which means it's going to be perfect for adding some light shading. What a fortuitous circumstance. What serendipity. So I might add a little extra shading to the boots. Okie dokie. Let's add some shadow for the man breast. Now we need some shadow underneath his jaw. Really dark shadow to pop that chin forward. Now, since the light's coming this way, that means his head is casting a shadow on his shoulder. So I'm going to bring this down and around. I'm just going to black it out. I'm going to add some reflection glass. And what else do I want to do? Do I want to do any shading? Yeah, I want to do some shading in here just to visually separate that. Very light. What am I pretending? Great, I got mixed up. I'm pretending this is pink, aren't I? Okay. Well, chat, I don't have anything better to do tonight, so I will take a few requests. No promises, but I'm about to get done with our boy Wanpool here. I guess, let me give some sort of parameters for what I should do. Comics, Twitter, YouTube community related stuff. You know what? Okay. I may ask you guys to chat among yourselves, and I think I'm going to see if I can try to fix my internet on my laptop issue. Because if I can fix that, then I can bring up reference images more easily and keep an eye on the chat more easily, and we could have some fun drawing time. So let's leave a little notice for those who might be hopping in, and hopefully I should be able to fix this internet issue in less than a minute. We will return. Okay. This should take me a minute. Love you guys. I'll be right back. Hi-ho, tinfoil. Away! Yes. right, we've done it. We have internet on laptop number 2, which means that reference images are back. So I might draw another wand pool before I take any requests to make this sort of a wand pool themed night. And then, yeah, so let's make it requests related to characters within Comicsgate and independent projects related to Comics Twitter and Comics YouTube. So think of some things, sort of maybe Rags, Splato Delgato, Matt Wanger, all these great fellows within our happy family. Let me pull up chat here so I can keep an eye on that. Oh, well, I can use my phone to keep an eye on chat, can't I? Yeah. Okay, so phone's going to be for keeping an eye on chat. Mr. Mahvel's here. I've been drawing, writing, and being dad. This was supposed to be my downtime fun. I hope we're doing you proud, Mr. Mahvel. We're gonna do one more wand pool tonight to celebrate this upcoming comic. You can check out Mistah Mahvel's DeviantArt at mistahmahvel.deviantart.com. He's got 0% of that creepy weirdo DeviantArt stuff, and he's got total kick-ass stuff on his DeviantArt. So just some like original, one-off kind of things, like new characters and such, but also some things teasing some of his future projects as well. Okie dokie. We have wand pool. Let's see how bad I did. So I left out the patches. He does okay. Gwenpool and Wandpool don't have a pink stripe down the middle of their head, and I kind of dimly remembered the side of the body correctly. So for going without reference images, I get the feel for the character, I think. So not bad from memory, but we want to go above and beyond. Let's think. Do I want a wand pool with more soy or less soy? Let's do a different style entirely. So if that was just sort of my generic comfy warm-up style, let's do something different. Because this is one of the interesting things Mr. Mahvel's been doing. He's been drawing Teen Titans Go style stuff for friends in the community. He's been drawing Family Guy style stuff. He's done some great roasts of the Thundercats Roar style. Do I really want to just draw Wandpool in a Thundercats Roar style, or do I want to go for something a little off the beaten track? What's this? Draw him in a Indie Dave Comics says draw him in a swinging Spidey pose. Okay, that sounds like a challenge, and I think we're gonna go for it. So let's see. Wandpool swinging from the buildings. Let's just do a quick worm's eye view. You like the nice Empire State Building up there. And I want a lot of motion in this. Maybe almost like a Mad Magazine kind of style, where everything is just real. The whole picture is funny and communicates the humor of it. All right, start with the head. And before I figure out too many details of the head, I want to figure out what the heck his body is doing. His head is leaning forward in space, and his body is going backwards in space. One arm is twisted in front of him, holding onto the web. Another arm is going forward. Oh, Mr. Mahvel, if Wandpool had web shooters, what would the aesthetic be? Would they be something maybe slightly Gwenpool related? He's got some sick canastas on his sword, so would he have canasta themed web shooters maybe? I have too many ideas, says Mistah Mahvel. I want to see some Spider-Man swinging through the city inspired stuff coming up soon. Well, butts are very fun to draw, so we're going to have Juan Pool's ample rear end curving up into the air a little bit, of course. His footsie is sort of bent forward. Someone asked Rob Liefeld or Liefeld, I'm terrible at that. Someone asked Rob Liefeld on Twitter, why don't you draw feet? And he said, it's a lifestyle choice. And he had a salty interaction, I think, with some people in the community earlier this year, but I thought that was a great reply. Liefeld, says avid comic reader. Thank you. Why not pin this in place? There we go. I don't know if that's doing anything, but okie dokie artichoke. Now, I don't want any buildings interfering with his silhouette, so I'm going to have another building over here. I'm not really figuring out two-point perspective today, so this is going to be a little bit more avant-garde. Now let's take a look at Juan Pool. Okay, so the nose shows through. It's pointed down. The nose helps direct the face. I'm going to give him a slight Mario shape to his mustache to imply that he's just having the time of his life. A strong bridge to his nose. Make sure we get his very masculine butt chin. So there's pink lenses and then sort of black outline. And bring that smile up to his eyes, so it's a very genuine smile. There's sort of okay, so I remember there was sort of this indication of a fold in the middle of his mask. And I'm going to make his the little flap on the back of the mask. Since he's swinging through the air, that should be doing something fun. A little bit more fluid, I think. Give him a nice big meaty head with plenty of room for his big beautiful brain in there. I mean, a YouTube live streamer, that is gold. That's how I used to wonder, how the heck do any of these superheroes have time to go out and fight crime all day? What do they do for their day job? How do they buy their groceries? With that sick YouTube income from all their likes, comments, and subscribes. That's how. People are giving Mistah Mahvel some drawing inspiration. So I didn't know, I hope he doesn't mind, but we chatted a little bit behind the scenes before technology went to heck. And he mentioned that he likes to draw during his live streams with other people, which I just love that idea. I almost kind of get a little bit nervous before live streams. I want to just make sure I have every window open correctly in case I want to reference their website or something. So once I get more comfortable with this, I might start doing that. And then the thing is, a lot of people are really hip to getting, their screen capture to show exactly what they're doing on their screen. And I've done a little bit of that, but I'm still kind of a traditional chauvinist where I just don't quite feel right unless I've got this piece of wood in my hand. I can feel the texture of the paper. I'm not saying it's digital is bad. It's just I've never just gotten quite comfortable working that way. Now, what's really interesting about this pose is we're looking at his shoulders almost from a top view. So, like some of my old tricks to measure heads don't quite work here. But we're also going to change the body a little bit to make it nice and comedic and friendly and bouncy. So I think that's where his man boobs would be. They'd be on the front of his chest. So this is really his rib cage that we're seeing here. Hanging it. How's the mask? I think the mask is good. I'll call that there. And make his face a little bit bigger, since everything about Wampool should be nice and big. What should we do with his swords? I'm going to say that he's drawn his swords, and could he be simultaneously, could he be holding his canasta swords and web slinging all at once? I think he could. Gwenpool's shoulders sort of come up at the tips, and then there's sort of this angular design down the front. And I think that's also true of the back. This gives us a chance to sort of show the Wampool's girth as well. So it comes in, it's back, comes out. This is almost like that triggering Spider-Woman pose that all my feminist instructors were very incensed about. They didn't care about comics, but they heard about the Spider-Woman pose, and they were freaking out. Well, if we can have some male gaze for Spider-Woman, we can have some female gaze for our boy Wampool. I can't even draw this without cracking up. Oop. Oh, they are called Mercatanas. Hey, I'm learning. I'm learning. Drawing Wampool is a cultural experience. How we doing, chat? I've been going into drawing focus mode, so took my eyes off my phone for a while. Your big toe is on the inside. Gotta remind myself of what my feet look like. And I wiggle my toes while I do it. Some nice soles to his shoes. And then we're gonna bring the boots up here. Now, since he's bending his legs, that means there's gonna be some foreshortening of his muscles. There we go. That's looking better already. And then this time I'm not going to skimp out on the details. We're going to draw all the guns and pouches we can. And what's nice about this is this gets me another chance to show the shape of those girthy legs. Two straps. There's the pouch for a gun. He's upside down, so I'm kind of translating this in my head. Guns, barrel is down there. The holster handle's up here. Jonah Art says, draw Wampool taking a sexy selfie. And Mr. Marvel says this, so that's gotten the official seal of approval. So that'll be drawing number 3 for tonight. Wampool taking a sexy selfie. The thing is, Wampool is a sexy selfie. How can you just deny his charms? So his arm is actually bending back in space. So I've just kind of like doof this out quickly. Now I'm trying to figure out after the fact what I want to do with the shape. So I'm going to say there are like spider webs coming off of his swords, and that he is simultaneously web slinging and sword fighting, because that just sounds cool to me, and it gives me an excuse to draw some swords. I like Ninja K as well, but don't tell #1 Marmaduke fan. You know, I read one Ninja K #4, I think, was one of the worst comics I read all year. But then I got the next one because I didn't have the heart to ask my comic book store owner to take it off my pull list, and then it got better. I think it was a one-off thing with their woke and special character, and then they had her murder a white guy for in a really creepy sexual way too, like a Jack the Ripper style murder. And it's not like they were saying, "Oh, well, she's an evil villainess." This was supposed to be like a sort of cool, badass anti-hero. And the thing is, you know, the Punisher will kill a lot of people, but you don't have the Punisher sexually assault anyone after he murders them, or he kind of loses the idea that he's punishing evildoers, right? If he kills them, but he doesn't do creepy stuff like that. So I just thought the thing was out of touch. Let's get that nice glove with a belt and a buckle on the glove. I want to angle this sword down a little more so I have a bit more space. Not that much, subtly. That's a nice big sausagey sword. I'm going to draw a line to remind me of what I wanted to do. Bring this arm over here so I have a little bit more space and less tangents. That's his right arm. That's his left arm. Yep. Sure, I remember what way my arms go. What are the details we got? Shoulder straps, pouches, wand pool symbol. I can't see the backs of his wrists on either of these, so draw his glove. Oh, and I'm guessing that the belt along his chest goes all the way around his back. That means there'll be a tight belt, so we'll get a little poof there. And then the straps will come up to his shoulders. Give him a nice pouch on his sides. I'm going to pretend he has some pouches on his back too, just so we can add more pouches. You can always have more pouches. Does he have pouches on his boots? No, I think they're normal boots. And then on the shoulder straps, it's kind of hidden. So there's almost sort of tucked under his shoulder, and his head's essentially resting on his shoulder, which means that the straps are kind of covered up and tucked under him. So I won't worry about that too much. Okay, I think we got the basics down. Did anyone watch Ninja K versus the Valiant Universe? Interesting. Mr. Marvel's been waiting on reading indies until he's done with Wanpool's arc. Doesn't want to accidentally steal ideas. He just wants to create. I dig it. People are chatting indie books. Okay. I'm going to go into what do I want to do with this bad boy. I'm just using cheap printer paper, so that's not appropriate for charcoal. I'm gonna stick with my clear pen. That gives me some options for shading. Shoobity wop. Here we go. And then after this will be wand pool taking a sexy selfie. So beautiful. Add a few wrinkles and folds to his outfit. So it looks like it's been roughed up a bit. I'm gonna wait to do whiskers till later. So I get too obsessed doing little details, I'll miss looking at big things. Have most of the shoulder be in shadow. Like this time I'll have the light coming from front, I think. So we can push that head forward in space. Put chat in wine pool, and I dig it. Kind of a meaty hand, but I think I'm okay with it because it's sort of a meaty character. Not a very broad hill, sort of a short hill. Drew a single line earlier to just sort of help guide me while I freehand this. Oh, good grief, this sword. Okay, we're gonna make this a cartoony, silly sword. This is the kind of thing where I might go in digitally later and then adjust some of these horrible mistakes from the traditional phase. We're gonna make it like a double-edged blade. And let's not forget, I have a loop of webbing coming off here. So webbing, I'm very influenced by the Eric Larson days of Spider-Man's webbing, where there'd be kind of like these loopies to indicate sort of segments in the web, and streams of web coming out here, and also like little flecks of web flying off. I don't want the webbing to interfere with his sword, so I'm going to have the web come up all the way up the building, fade it out up there, start to bring the web back here. So if you're just joining us, we had some technical difficulties with some of the technology that was going to allow the Google Hangout. So this became a live drawing stream of Mistah Mahvel's Wanpool character. A comic is in the works. Mr. Mahvel, you're still here. So there's a story about just Wanpool, like a Wanpool standalone story, and there's a crossover with Rags as well. So we can really expect 2 independent comic adventures with Wanpool pretty soon. Oh, our boy Mr. Mahvel's heading out. Peace out. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for creating this beautiful, beautiful person, Wanpool. I sort of ended up shrinking his arm a bit, didn't I? So I'm going to pretend there's a shadow there so I can make it a little bit wider. Wait. Oh my gosh, wait, that's his right arm. I drew a left arm I drew a left hand on a right arm live on stream. Look at this. Behold my failure. Look at this. I forgot which hand was a left hand and which was a right hand. All right, power through. The show must go on. We're going to fix this. That is a right arm, meaning that curves there, over there. Okay, this is going to be a really jankety arm. It's not going to have any of the cleanness of the head, but we're going to make this work. Well, not that clean, but I think I transformed from a left hand into a right hand. Jonah says this reminds me of DBS episode 17 when Vegeta had two left hands in the preview. Right, because don't they like reanimate those stuff a lot? They do sort of they do a cheap and quick one for TV, and then when Blu-rays come out, they actually clean it up a bit. Oh my gosh! And then I drew the hilt on. Boo! This is what happens when I divide my attention. I drew two hilts. So I drew a hilt on top of them, so he would actually be holding the sword hilt. Roast me, okay? Never let me live this down. Download this live stream. Make sure that take this clip out of context and then give it a goofy title like Marmaduke fan doesn't know what left and right is. No, look at that. So it's got like he's got a burger sword or something. Why? Why did I do? I think I might treat this as a rough ink and then come back over it for a clean pass later. Because I like the motion of his body twisting in space, but I've kind of, after that, it's been progressively muffing it up. We'll get there. We will power through. Nevertheless, Juan persisted. Did we lose my laptop? Yeah. I'm not using the reference images anymore, so I think I'm good. Nice shadow behind that pouch. Some texture and shading on this belt. Shadow underneath the shoulder strap. Texture on the shoulder strap. I'm going to put a little pillow in his shirt, like it's getting caught in the wind. Now, the part you've all been waiting for, that ample rear end. Now he's wearing an outfit, so I'm going to add like a little fold in there, so it's not like we see his whole butt. There's some cloth on there. Now, fat folds coming out. This is about as much fun to draw as Uncle EBS as Rose Tico on one of my Drawbreakers 8-hour drawing marathons. All right, time for some beautiful legs, I think. I'm going to start forward in space with the sole of the shoe. after I finish this build, I'm going to check on chat a bit to see what y'all are up to. Oh, Mim Headroom is here. 3 out of 10 needs more cal art. Well, our next one's going to be Juan Poole taking a sexy selfie. So maybe there'll be I mean, what is sexier than cal arts? So maybe that'll be an opportunity to get a little bit of sexy cal art stuff in there. Maybe I will invent my own cal art style live on air. I found myself wanting to talk with my normie friends about Thundercats Roar all day, but they were the hot topic for them was Yanny versus Oral, and I was thinking, oh, that internet meme is so 3 minutes ago. It's Thundercats Roar now, but I went along with the Yanny versus Oral conversation today at church fellowship. Oh, I can rescue this. Okay, so I accidentally drew 2 hilts. I drew a hilt on top of his hand and at bottom of his hand so that he'd actually be gripping the sword blade. But the idea is that his swords are actually his web shooters. So I can rescue this by turning this into webbing. There we go. Okay, let's add a little bit more definition. So the webbing's wrapped around the top of his sword. Okay. Bada bing, bada boom. Remember, kids, when you make really dumb mistakes, just draw on top of the really dumb mistake, I guess. Mim missed it. I drew a, what did I do? So that's his right hand, because he's upside down and backwards. So I drew a left hand instead of a right hand. And then I realized what I had just done in ink. And then I tried to correct it by drawing on top of my previous work. So web. Buildings are kind of loose and in motion because he's moving so fast. Yeah, how's this for some cal arts influence? Okie dokie, I've got his leg straps. That one's missing a leg strap. Let's get one on. There would be a leg strap right about there. Shoulder straps are coming down the front. I think I got it. I want to get a little shadow under here. Just chin forward. Oh yes, and of course, how could I forget our 5 o'clock shadow? Really light. Oh, and hair on his legs, lightly indicated. Va-va-voom. Okay, that's the moment we've all been waiting for. Wine pool and a sexy selfie. Let you take a look at this for a minute. You should have just had a double hilted sword. Yeah, maybe I'll make that a thing. 2 hilts. That way I can always forget where the heck a hilt is supposed to go. I think I was bleeding. Maybe I wasn't imagining that when I thought I felt blood on my foot. No, well, if I was, then it was tiny. It was only a flesh wound. That's what I was thinking. It was just named that because Cali Soy Boys invented it. We're talking about the Kyle art style, Californian art style. Elijah the Aura Man says, I came here for the Thundercats roar. There 3 videos in one day about Thundercats roar, a drawing video, a high take, and a think piece. Yeah, that's not enough. We need to do some Thundercats roar roasting. So, since we've had a request for a sexy selfie of Wine Pool, there's nothing sexier than the Cal Arts style. So here we go. Here's how to draw the Wine Pool Go cartoon iteration. We all need. It'll be super silly. Things will be completely inconsistent all the time and changing from scene to scene. And if you don't like it, well, then you just must hate everything new. So what you need is a nice, what would you call this shape? I almost call it like a cartoon dinosaur head shape or a heart head shape. I'm going to add a little bit of variety to the SoCal art style because I can't bring myself to just draw straight that. I gave him a Mario influenced mustache last time to make him look happy. So I think I'm going to give him more of his traditional mustache here. Oh, and tumbler nose. Since Wanpool has that great hook nose, it lends itself to that tumbler nose look. Let your friends know on Twitter that we're drawing Wanpool and his sexy selfie in the SoCal art style. All right, now what sexy pose could, I mean, Wanpool is, just a sexy man personified, but we need to have some salaciousness here. And since it's the SoCal art style, we can do whatever we want, right? So I'm going to have almost like a dick butt inspired look. Nice twist in his back, boobs, and a butt. That's what we need. We need a SoCal boobs and butt pose, the most triggering pose in all of comics. There, 2 boobs, 2 butt cheeks, shoulder coming up. Ah, what am I drawing? What have I done? You guys have broken me. Now he's taking a selfie, so the Wanpool phone. Mistah Mahvel, if we can figure out a crossover with my characters and your characters, I'm down for one. When you finish with Rags and get some time to chat about more projects, Wanpool is a character that needs to be brought into every universe. And mine is kind of a semi-serious universe with fantasy aspects, but I'd say more along the lines of, now that I'm thinking about Thundercats so much, more along the lines of old Thundercats from the 80s than Thundercats Roar, where, yeah, sure, they're silly concepts, but the overall tone is an action fantasy. What's new? Ah! Who has a better butt, Wanpool or Nightwing? Good question. Nightwing does have a good butt, but he just doesn't have Wanpool's girth or masculinity. Now, since this is a SoCal art style, I can cheat because normally I run out of leg space, and that's where I take it into digital and lengthen my canvas. But since we're kind of doing a dick butt inspired dealio, well, but it still needs to be sexy, even though it's SoCal. So we got to have some salacious legs. Coming forward. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. So for a SoCal style, well, one of the things that's sort of infamous for is not having a lot of line width. But so for something that is actually, this is a really good pen if you want a really consistent line width, the Uniball, and it's waterproof, meaning you can combine it with watercolor paints later if that's what you want, or other wet materials. But I can't really bring myself just to imitate everything about the SoCal art style. So we've got the generic idea of some of the SoCal art style in there. So I think we're going to come in with my chisel tip Sharpie to get a little bit of width and variety. It looks like Dr. Eggman from Sonic the Hedgehog now. There's a little bit of that. Yeah, I think maybe subconsciously even I might have brought in a little bit of that. Juan Pool is a wanted man lately. Who doesn't want Juan Pool? Let me think. Is this the right? Yeah, this is the right marker for the job. I think it'll be fun. Bit of an unusual angle for me. I'll figure it out. But I like hanging over my drawing from on high. Who I talked about this? Timothy Lynn, Tortoise Thump, had a live stream where he was drawing on Periscope, and he asked about Chinese brushes, and he told me one of his friend's tips was to pull the brush up rather than push the brush down. And I actually hadn't heard that before, but I just kind of remembered my art teacher telling me, I have sort of this loose posture, hang it out, and work more with your arm than with your wrist. So if you're drawing with your wrist and your fingers in pencil and pen, Chinese brush might be a bit more about your whole arm getting into it. So I kind of like to hang over my drawings because of that, rather than stand in front of my drawings. Shoulders there. If only Gwenpool did this for us, maybe it wouldn't have been canceled. Maybe we'd still be having the meme-rific adventures of the original Gwenpool. I'm going to bring the shadow of his armpit over to the breast. A little maybe hatching in there. Pick up the shadow. Oh no, I accidentally turned this into a vile creature. When in doubt, laugh it out. I was in doubt about a lot at that whole arm. I'm going to get some details in here. Belt. I'm going to just have the belt taped to his man breasts because this is a sexy one. This is a sexy wine pool. So. Oh, it's almost reading as a bra. That's perfect. Don't need to draw feet because it's SoCal. I'll give him a little bit of a soul. So, yeah, he's doing a strut. You need some hair. Can't have one pool out here. Oh, the other one should be like whack whack, Luigi pool or something. I mean, yeah, he's got that big frame. He's got that mustache. He's got a wah sound to his name. Okay, we need to say hashtag selfie. Hashtag self pool. I just looked at what I drew. Still manlier than Thundercats roar, though. Elizabeth, you win. I can't handle the wand pool in this style. Sobs. My eyes. Oh, Captain Cummings is here? Good. I hope that has Captain Cummings been scarred forever yet? Hey, guys. Coolio. Carl's Amateur Hour is here. Sweet. Well, I think Wario Pool. We got to do something with that. So I'll let you guys bask in the glory of One Pool. Look at the male gaze. All of you presumed male audience. This is what you like. You like patriarchy. That's what you are. All right. So the question is, should it be Waluigi or Wario Pool? And his body says Wario, but Waluigi is so. I think we'll go with classic Wario. I don't need a reference image for Wario. He's part of my childhood. You can't scar Captain Cummings. He's into bizarre stuff. Congratulations. Okay, breaking news. Captain Cummings loves the SoCal art style. That is the most scandalous thing about this image. Nothing about the boobs and butt pose or the twist in his spine. The SoCal art style. We now have Captain Cummings on record that he is a Soy Cats sympathizer. I love Wario too. So let's see. Wario is a little bit more squarish than Wine. So we're going to have some influence of each. He also has that great nose. Wario is such a great character. I may even like Wario better than Mario. Captain Cummings' Bizarre Adventure. I don't like that mustache. No, we'll work it out again. I'm just going to do a bust for this last one. So I can bust it out. Dun 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 dun. People are chatting about Gwenpool Week and the origin. Yeah, so Captain Cummings was instrumental in the origin of this character by asking people to make Gwenpool related memes. Carl says the original was cheesy as all heck and clearly designed to sell toys, but doesn't excuse the direction they're taking. Thundercats roar. Yeah, they're robbing it of everything that made it what it was. I'm gonna cheat. Fill this in. Chisel tip. You may not have made the deadline for the Gwenpool memes, but Gwenpool has gone away and Wanpool remains with us. let's make this a whole. A while ago, I threw out the idea of maybe drawing other kinds of things on the stream, but I think this is a all one pool all the time stream. So if you've got any deep, dark, secret ideas for wine pool percolating in your mind, now's the time to start throwing those out in the live chat. Captain Cummings watched Thundercats as a kid and doesn't remember it at all. I bet my older brother watched it, but he didn't talk about it that much. So I'm guessing he liked G.I. Joe and Transformers and especially Ninja Turtles. Most of my knowledge of 80s culture is secondhand through my brother because I wasn't allowed to watch many violent cartoons as a very young kid. So he would actually reenact things from cartoons he got to watch for me. And he would kind of like convince my parents to let me watch slightly more violent things. So what that meant was when I went and kind of watched The Simpsons later, I would actually have all of these scenes from The Simpsons in my head based on how my brother would play out the scenes for me. And then I was kind of disappointed because for me, The Simpsons growing up was my brother just sort of telling me like the best bits of it in his own way. And then, of course, his way of telling it was slightly different from the original. Wandpool X Jawbreakers. I really want that to happen. Zach has talked about how he wants Jawbreakers to be crossover characters, and I know he wants Splato Delgato to be his sort of Meyerverse imprint, focusing on stories and characters he's created. But we gotta pester him to start letting us do some crossovers because I think I think that would be so great if he wanted the Jawbreakers to be crossover characters. Wandpool Jawbreakers. If Jawbreakers Lost Soul breaks, it's broken 300,000. I don't know what it's at right now, but I bet just Wandpool alone could significantly add some. That's what I like about this character is you just look at him, and he's funny. The thing about humor books is you can't just have he's so random. You got to have something that's funny on the face of it, and then you got to deliver. There's layers to humor. So a character looking funny helps. And then, there can be some wordplay, or there could be a little silliness, or there could be some dramatic irony. But having a character that just looks this funny and is this much fun to draw is a big plus compared to a character that just doesn't have this visual impact. What also adds humor to it is just the ridiculousness of, pool everything's got to be a pool. Wandpool X Rags X Black Hops. Yeah. I'm still in, what would you call it? I've outlined my comic project. I've taken all of my old notes on the thumbnails for some of it, storyboarding some of it, and I'm re-storyboarding it to make it more punchy. Because in my first draft, it would have been like 3 years of the protagonist in high school going through high school hijinks before anything really before any like the real stuff started. And I think it was Boku no Hero Academia, reading that and just how punchy it was, it made me said, I got to get to the point. I don't know if this was Mark Twain or someone else. I don't think it was Mark Twain, but there's some writer who was asked by another writer for advice on writing memoirs, and he said something like, "Get out of the boy shorts or something. Pretty much gloss the heck over childhood and get to the real meat of what's important in a person's life." So I took that to heart, and then I started re-scripting my comic. So that what I told myself is by the end of the first issue, I want to drop my main character off a mountain, because my main character, she's not going to have everything coming easy for her. She's going to be a female protagonist who has to struggle a lot. So for end of chapter 1, I'm going to drop her off a mountain. End of chapter 2, she's going to fight a dragon, and then chapter 3 is when all the real butt kicking is going to start. And I am down for Black Hops rag style crossovers as well. So pretty much, if you're working on a comic project and I haven't followed you yet and you're part of the community, just hit me up. I'll follow you. We can DM. We'll chat ideas. Because now I'm thinking, what would happen to my characters if they met Wanpool? Because they're from a fairly down to earth universe where it's like everything's down to earth and very kind of calm and 90s like, but there's just one big fantasy element to everything. So for them, wine pool would be a very unusual thing. They wouldn't be used to seeing something like a wine pool in their universe, which could probably be a great setup for comedic hijinks, because he would clearly be the most boisterous person in the room. Has anybody looked at Sporkman? Isn't that like a British comic character, Unranked Chevron? Oh wait, the wine pool symbol's on his belt, not his chest. Oh well. And this is a lot more SoCal lazy. I was like really focused on the head, and then I just went right into inks on the lower torso. And now I'm truly embracing the SoCal, but not trying to be tongue in cheek. I'm just legitimately whoopsing this out. Ow. Let's get some shade in the belt. And I want to write whack, 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 pool. Whack. Whack. Wine. Wine pool, yamba wine. I'm gonna win. Well, I have to get going. Oh, Elijah has to leave. Unranked is leaving. All right, so last call for final requests. Last call for final requests. I'm just gonna cool down. Do you guys think of anything? Yo, it's Squid. I like that. I'll cool down on this since there's some ghost images on here. Let's turn this into a wine pool. Scribble pool. When I teach little kids to draw, especially kids who are just like in their 2s and just coming out of the scribble phase, it's a lot of fun to have them start with a scribble and then turn that into something silly. But then it's like for little kids, you can't like get into older kids are starting to learn, dimension and three-dimensionality and shading. But for little kids, you can be a little bit more loosey-goosey on it and focus on the creative side of drawing a bit more. So that's a fun way of getting them started thinking if they're hesitant to start drawing. Man, I've just been gradually increasing in SoCalness all night. It started when I got that hand backward, and then this, not the SoCal, the CalArts infected me for the rest of the night. Behold my CalArts power. Wine pool roar. All right, but now we're going to actually turn this scribble into a shape that's wine pool-rific. So there's his chest. There's his like man boobs. There's his belly. There's his other man boob. There's where his shirt wraps around. Here's his tongue. Here's his wine pool pants. And there's some extra backside up the back. There's that little extra weight to his legs. I'm sorry, guys. What have I done to you? What have I done? I have sinned. I have sinned against wine pool and against God. Any requests for wine pool stuff? The Devil's Due is here. Oh, he's going to explode. Wine pool gets the pancakes. Super Cosmic Mutant Honey is here. Ooh, Mr. Marvel with some breaking news. Wine-Pool can access his post from a hammer space to use his weapons. He essentially memes his attacks into the physical world. That's interesting.